Anthony Albanese is watching something unfold that terrifies him more than any policy failure, any poll drop, any backbench revolt. Pauline Hanson, yes, that Pauline Hanson, is now being demanded as Prime Minister by a growing number of Australians who have completely lost faith in the major parties. Not as a joke, not as a protest vote whispered in the shadows, as a genuine, vocal demand. And the Prime Minister's office is scrambling because this isn't just about Hanson. This is about the total collapse of trust in the political establishment, and Labour knows they are standing right in the firing line. If you're tired of sanitized political coverage that protects the major parties and refuses to ask hard questions, subscribe to Inside Australia right now and click the notifications bell. This channel exists to deliver independent analysis without loyalty to Labour, Liberal, or anyone else. We hold power accountable, no matter who holds it. Now let us get into why this demand for Hanson as Prime Minister is not just noise. It is a warning sign the establishment cannot afford to ignore. Here is the judgment first. Australians are not asking for Pauline Hanson because they have suddenly embraced one nation policy in its entirety. They are demanding her because she represents the one thing Labour and the coalition have failed to provide for years: a willingness to say what millions of people are thinking without apology, without focus groups, without corporate donors whispering in her ear. Whether you agree with her or not, Hanson has built a brand on being unfiltered, on refusing to bend to political correctness, and on giving voice to frustrations that the major parties pretend do not exist. And now, as cost of living crushes households, as immigration debates explode, as energy bills spiral, and housing becomes unaffordable, people are looking at Albanese's cautious platitudes and Dutton's recycled slogans and saying, "We want someone who will actually fight for us." Even if that someone is Pauline Hanson, this is not an endorsement. This is an observation of what happens when the political center collapses under its own cowardice. Now, the context. Pauline Hanson has been in Australian politics for nearly 3 decades. She has been mocked, sidelined, censured, and written off more times than anyone can count. And yet, she is still here. One Nation still holds Senate seats. Hanson still commands media attention. And now, in late 2025, as Albanese's approval ratings slide and Peter Dutton fails to inspire confidence, something unexpected is happening. Social media is flooded with posts, memes, and videos calling for Hanson to be made Prime Minister. Not from fringe accounts, from ordinary Australians, trod eyes, small business owners, parents, retirees who feel completely abandoned by the major parties. They're not asking for her because they think she has all the answers. They're demanding her because they believe she is the only one willing to ask the questions that matter. And here's where it gets worse for Albanese. Labour's entire strategy has been built on being the safe choice, the adults in the room, the party that listens, that cares, that governs responsibly. But what happens when being safe starts to look like being weak? What happens when being responsible starts to look like being complicit? Albanese has spent his entire tenure avoiding conflict, tiptoeing around hard decisions, and offering Australians nothing but vague reassurances while their lives get harder. He promised to ease the cost of living. Energy bills are still climbing. He promised housing affordability. Rents are at record highs. He promised transparency and integrity. His government has been caught in scandal after scandal, from the Qatar Airways decision to the voice referendum disaster to the ongoing fumbling of immigration policy. And now, Australians are looking at him and saying, if this is the best you can do, we will take our chances with someone who at least pretends to care. This is the part nobody wants to talk about. The demand for Hanson is not about Hanson. It is about rage. It is about desperation. It is about millions of Australians who feel like they have been lied to, ignored, and lectured by a political class that is more interested in managing optics than delivering outcomes. Hanson's appeal is not policy, it is defiance. And defiance sells when trust is dead. Let us be very clear about what this means for ordinary Australians. When people start demanding fringe figures as Prime Minister, it is not because they have gone mad. It is because the system has failed them so comprehensively that anything looks better than the status quo. Labour and the coalition have spent years taking voters for granted, assuming that people would keep voting for them out of habit, out of fear, out of lack of alternatives. But that calculus is breaking down. People are angry. They are struggling. And they're done pretending that Labour and Liberal represent different options, when both parties seem more interested in protecting their own power than addressing the crises tearing through this country. Hanson's rise in this moment is not a testament to her brilliance. It is a testament to Labour's failure, to the coalition's irrelevance, to the total dysfunction of a political system that has stopped serving the people it claims to represent. And here is the pattern that should terrify every major party politician. This is not unique to Australia. Across the Western world, establishment parties are hemorrhaging support. Voters are flocking to populists, independents, outsiders, anyone who seems willing to break the rules, to speak plainly, to fight the system instead of managing it. Donald Trump returned to the White House in 2024 because Americans rejected the political class. Marine Le Pen is surging in France. Geert Wilders is rising in the Netherlands. Javier Milei won in Argentina. These are not isolated incidents. This is a global revolt against political elites who have become disconnected, arrogant, and unresponsive. Australia is not immune. And Pauline Hanson, whether you like it or not, is riding that wave. Now, does this mean Hanson will actually become Prime Minister? No. The constitutional and parliamentary realities make that extraordinarily unlikely. One nation does not have the numbers. The Senate would block her. The media would lose its mind. And Hanson herself, while politically savvy in her own way, has never demonstrated the capacity to build the kind of coalition necessary to govern. But that is not the point. The point is that people are asking for it. The point is that the demand exists. The point is that Labour is watching this unfold and realizing that their entire strategy, calm, cautious, incremental, has left them vulnerable to a populist insurgency they thought they had contained. And here is why this matters right now. Elections are won and lost on vibes as much as policy. If the vibe heading into the next federal election is Labour has failed, Dutton is uninspiring, and maybe we need someone who will actually shake things up, then the major parties are in serious trouble. Labour cannot afford to lose working-class voters to One Nation. They cannot afford to lose outer suburban seats to populist anger. And yet, that is exactly what is starting to happen. Hanson is not stealing votes from the Greens or the Teals. She is pulling from Labour's base, the people Labour used to represent before it became a party of inner-city progressives and corporate consultants. Albanese knows this. His team knows this. And they are panicking because they do not know how to fight it. You cannot fact-check your way out of a trust crisis. You cannot policy document your way out of populist anger. And you certainly cannot lecture people about civility and decorum when they are drowning in debt and watching their country change in ways they never voted for. So what is Labour's response? What is their strategy to win back voters who are demanding Pauline Hanson as Prime Minister? So far, it has been nothing. Radio silence, the occasional dismissive comment, the usual appeals to Australian values and unity that mean nothing when people feel abandoned. Labour is hoping this goes away. They're hoping that Hanson says something outrageous, that the media turns on her, that voters come back to their senses. But hope is not a strategy, and time is running out. This is not about defending Hanson. This is about recognizing reality. The demand for her as Prime Minister is a symptom of a much larger disease, a political system that has stopped working for ordinary Australians. And until Labour, the coalition, and every other major party figure understands that, until they start addressing the real concerns driving people toward populism instead of dismissing those concerns as ignorance or bigotry, this problem is only going to get worse. Anthony Albanese is watching his government unravel, not because of One Nation's strength, but because of Labour's weakness. And if he cannot find a way to reconnect with the people who once trusted him, the next election will not be a referendum on policy. It will be a referendum on whether the political establishment deserves to survive at all. Thanks for watching.